Hey guys, I am going to share my best ever Gujarati Khandvi recipe with you today, and it's one that you guys have been requesting for ages and ages and ages, and it's something that I really enjoy making but don't make often, so it's taken me a while to get there, but I finally worked on a fabulous recipe for you guys and you're gonna love this. It is really quick, really simple, but you have to follow a few certain rules to get those sheets rolled perfectly evenly, and I'm going to show you the best tips for doing that. Now, those of you who aren't familiar with khandvi, it is a chickpea flour and yogurt snack that is kind of cooked in a pan like a batter, and then it's spread really thinly and evenly, and then what you do is very carefully just roll it up into these like amazing little thin cylinders, and it kind of resembles pasta. And I don't want to be one of those people that kind of tries to westernize all of these beloved Indian recipes that we all hold really dear to our hearts, but let me tell you, this is kind of a Gujarati version of a rolled pasta. In the grand scheme of most Indian recipes, this dish uses relatively few ingredients. You could almost say it's a store cupboard recipe. Now, coconut water is completely optional. It's not something that you have to do at all. It's just something that I like to add. You can completely skip it and just add the same amount of regular water to this, and the recipe will work perfectly fine, so don't worry about that. Now, some of my methods might seem a little bit unorthodox, and that is absolutely true. I'm not really following any rules here, kind of made it up as I went along, but I found that kind of using a few cheats here and there make the process a lot simpler if you want them to look like you just bought them from your favorite Gujarati farsana dukan. Here's everything we need to make our delicious Gujarati Khandvi. We are starting with some chickpea flour or besan in a big bowl here, and you'll need to pop it in a big bowl for this. And then I have some yogurt. This is just plain. Now, if you're vegan, you can switch this yogurt for soy yogurt or any other kind of dairy-free alternative to yogurt. To our batter, we're also going to need some turmeric. I've just got some dried ground turmeric here. You can use fresh turmeric if you have it. I also have some really finely chopped chilies and some grated ginger, and those really need to be minced as finely as you can get them because we don't want any lumps and bumps in this batter. It really does need to be super smooth. And then in addition to that, I have some salt and some sugar and some lemon juice, and that's what's going to give the khandvi that really iconic khattu mittu flavor that you know so well from your favorite Gujarati farsana. And to bring our khandvi batter together, we're gonna need some water, and my secret ingredient here, and this is something that's not really traditionally added, but something that I really love to add for amazing flavor, and that is coconut water. Now, if you can't get your hands on coconut water and you don't have it, that's absolutely fine. You can just replace it for the same amount of regular cold water, and that is going to taste phenomenal as well. Once these khandvi are rolled up into their lovely little spiral rolls, we can do a tempering on top. And for this, we're going to need some oil. I've just got some plain sunflower oil here. You can use whatever oil you like as long as it's not olive oil, because that might kind of disrupt that flavor just a little bit. We also need some mustard seeds. I've got black mustard seeds here and some curry leaves, and that's going to give it really great flavor. You can also add some asafoetida to this if you want. I'm keeping this recipe gluten-free, so I'm not going to add asafoetida today, but you definitely can if that's something that you want to do. And then finally, just to sprinkle on top, I have some freshly grated coconut here, and you can use desiccated coconut if you don't have fresh, or you can use frozen coconut as well. And some fresh coriander leaves, of course, because no Indian dish is complete without your coriander leaves. So I have my chickpea flour in my bowl already here, and I'm going to go ahead and add all of my masalas. If you can remember, we've got our sugar and salt, and that all goes in together. The turmeric, try not to get it on your hands because that's going to stain. Ooh. And then our chili and ginger as well, and just pop all of that in, and then we are just going to give it just a little mix so that everything gets incorporated really nicely. Just spend a couple of seconds doing that. Now this is all really nicely incorporated. I haven't got any big lumps of anything in there now. So I'm going to go ahead and add all of my yogurt. All of that yogurt goes in. And we'll just give it just a little mix, just with our rubber spatula. Now this is all mixed up. I'm going to add in my lemon juice, and then our water and coconut water both go in. And this is gonna look like a ton of water, but we need it, guys. So let's just give this a little mix, and then I might switch to a little whisk in a minute. So I'm just gonna whisk this really nicely. Until we've got a really lovely batter. So I'm just going to give this a couple of whizzes with my little stick blender here. I've got a bigger pan heating up here now, and I'm ready to cook my khandvi mixture. So while it's just heating up, I'm just going to pour my batter into this pan, get all of it out, get my little spatula and scrape all of that out so we're not wasting a drop. And this needs to cook over a really low heat, and you need to stir this constantly. There is a process to this which requires you to go low and slow and be really gentle with it. Make sure that you're not getting any lumps in there. It just needs constant stirring, so don't leave it for a second. Now I've been working at this for about 3 or 4 minutes now, and as you can see, it's become nice and smooth. I've still got it over a low-ish heat, and it really needs to be cooked over a low heat. So just get it to this point where it starts to look a bit like French pastry cream, or like a really thick custard, and it has to be smooth like this. So if you've got a silicone spatula, go ahead and use it, or if you're using a stainless steel pot, you can just go ahead and use a regular metal whisk as well, just to work out any of those lumps and really just go at it. So my mixture is really nice and thick now. As you can see, I have to give it a good few shakes like that to get it off of my spoon, and that tells me that this is now ready to be spread out, and we need to work really, really quickly, really smooth. So now if you want to test this, just grab yourself a little steel spoon like this, a stainless steel spoon, and just spread a bit on the back and just let it set for a couple of seconds. Now we just want to take our little finger and just try and tease this away, and as you can see, it's coming away from this spoon really nicely. So now we have to work super quickly, so grab your pan. Now my khandvi mixture is all ready. I'm going to very quickly pop it onto this greased foil, and the foil is greased with very little oil, and it's spread very, very thinly as well, because we don't want a ton of oil on here, otherwise it's going to make it really difficult for us to spread this. So I'm just going to go ahead and really quickly just scrape my pan of all of that mixture, and then just use a nice little spatula like this to take that away and very quickly spread. And work fast, guys. You want to work really quickly with this and just get it as thin as we can. It's a really beautiful process that I am gonna take a piece of cling film, and I know you guys are gonna say to me, why are you using this single-use plastic? I get it, but this is not something that I make very often. So when I do, I like to make sure that it's nice and thin, and this is a lovely trick to achieve that. So I'm just gonna take a second sheet here and put it all over the top. And this is something that I like to do to make this really nice and thin. It's not something that you have to do. By all means, just spread it on a thali or like any kind of stainless steel plate will do. That's how they traditionally do it. But you guys have asked me to specifically share these tips for getting these rolls lovely and even and really pretty looking. And this is how to do it if you really want them to look like you bought them from a Gujarati farsani dukan. So all you need to do now is just take your hand and just spread it across the surface, and where you feel it's thicker in some parts than others, make sure you're working on those areas in particular, just to make sure that they are really nice and smooth throughout and all the same thickness, because there's nothing worse than super thick khandvis that are kind of uneven in places. We want them to be nice and even all the way. Okay, so I'm happy with this, and I think this is as thin as I'm going to be able to get it at this point. So what we want to do now is take away our cling film sheet. So very carefully just peel this guy back, just like that, and that is so satisfying. And if you want to make another batch later on, then you can reuse this cling film and foil as well. There's nothing to stop you from doing that. That's absolutely fine. So now that's off, I'm going to leave this for about 5 minutes just for it to cool down very slightly. Now for my trusty little trick, I use a pizza cutter, and that is just going to make light work of chopping all of this up. And of course you could use a knife, that's absolutely fine as well, but I just find pizza cutter gives you a little bit more control. So first we're going to tackle these little scraggly edges that we've got here. So I'm going to chop these off, and of course I'm not going to waste these. I'm going to eat them myself, but it will just kind of make sure that my khandvi is really neat in its rolling. So I'll just take these away and save them for snacking later. And as you can see, my pizza cutter just cuts that really nicely. Now I'm just going to start taking some of this away so that we are left with our nice khandvi that we can start rolling. So I've just tidied up around the edges here, and I've got my lovely sheet of really thinly rolled khandvi here. I'm going to take my trusty little pizza cutter once more, and I'm going to take it all the way through the center this time. So I'm going to cut this all the way through, just like that, because I don't want my rolls to be too big. They need to be like a decent size, and if you want, you can use a ruler for this if you're being quite particular, and that is absolutely fine. I'm just going to start by cutting these into about 1.5 inch pieces, just like that, like nice rectangles. It doesn't have to be like completely precise or anything, but it will just help that final look of the khandvi. So with the help of a little knife, I'm going to... So with the help of the back of a knife, I'm just going to gently lift this. And if you don't do this, you might find that it starts crumbling. But don't worry, because you're not really going to see the inside of that roll anyway. And we're just going to really gently start rolling this into some lovely spirals of khandvi. And I'm I'm just going to carry on doing that for all of these. So I'm very carefully going to take the corner of this and really start gently rolling this into a nice even roll, and that is absolutely perfect. So to make my tadka for this khandvi, I'm first going to add a little bit of oil to my pan. This pan is already really hot, so I'm immediately going to add some mustard seeds. These are just black mustard seeds, and they're going to start popping. And once they've finished crackling and popping, we're going to add in our lovely curry leaves. I love that crackling sound, it reminds me of home. Beautiful smell. Now some of that crackling has subsided, I'm going to add in my curry leaves, and those are going to sizzle away nicely and go nice and crispy and release all of their lovely aromas. And that is pretty much done. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds. Just the most amazing sound. And that's ready to pour on top of my khandvi. My khandvi is now rolled and ready, and I'm just going to take some of my warm tadka and just sprinkle it all over the top there, and that is going to make this dish taste so yummy. Promise you, this is where all the flavor comes from. So now this is all looking really beautiful. My tadka is spread on there really nicely, and now just for the final touches, which is an essential Gujarati touch, and that is some fresh coriander and of course some freshly grated coconut on there. And that is absolutely sensational. Look at these beautiful khandvi that we have made today, and you can do this, guys. It's like hardly any effort at all. All of these things that you guys thought that you never could make. See, you can do it, and this is how easy it is. And that is truly how easy it is to make your own Gujarati Khandvi at home. You don't need any special skills or equipment. It really is a myth that this is a difficult recipe to master. You just need to have patience, be cool, be calm, and you will be on your way to perfect Khandvi in no time.